Elijah's red pencil rolled beneath the garden bench. When his hood slipped, Kang Tae-hyun stopped breathing. Black forensic paper conservator Naomi Bennett returned to Seoul with her 6-year-old son. A board memo erased her title and threatened her sponsorship. Still, she photographed every altered page beneath a failing lamp. The storm trapped them inside the Hansong Foundation. In the covered garden, Elijah offered his bench to Kang Tae-hyun, the Mafia boss called Black Crane. A black crane tattoo marked his neck. His midnight suit met Naomi's rain-damp camel coat. Elijah bent for the pencil. A pale crossed crescent appeared behind his left ear. Tae-hyun carried the same mark. Naomi, is he my son? Naomi gave him rules, not a claim. Then she placed an old breakup message beside his hospital record. Someone had answered from his phone while he lay unconscious. Who stole 7 years from them, and what would happen when that person learned he had found the boy? Before starting the story, comment down below where you are watching from and what time it is there. If stories of karma, love, and hidden truths move you, leave a like, be sure to subscribe to the channel, and click join to become a member and help our channel. Naomi caught the boardroom door before it closed and slid inside with the damp conservation report pressed to her chest. 12 trustees turned toward her. At the far end, Kang Suk-jun rested one hand on an oxblood portfolio while an assistant placed a single-page memo beside every water glass. Ms. Bennett, Suk-jun said, this session is restricted. Naomi set the report in front of him. Then someone should stop using my findings in it. The projected slide carried her ultraviolet scans of a royal family ledger, but her name had vanished from the credit line. Beneath the images, a new staffing notice identified her as a temporary technician. The demotion bore Suk-jun's signature and an effective date 3 days earlier. My contract names me lead conservator, Naomi said. Suk-jun closed the portfolio. Your contract is under review. By whom? People responsible for this institution. Her fingers tightened around the edge of the table, then released it. She photographed the slide, the memo, and his signature. Every trustee watched the phone rise. Nobody asked her to lower it. You cannot photograph confidential material, Suk-jun said. It became evidence when you attached my work. One trustee studied his glass. Another gathered both copies of the agenda, as if paper could provide shelter. Suk-jun's paternal smile appeared, precise and bloodless. Return to the laboratory. Security will inventory your access tonight. They'll find every page accounted for. Naomi lifted her report, including the pages your office requested without logging. His signet ring tapped the portfolio once. That sound followed her into the corridor. Downstairs, 2 facilities workers were rolling Naomi's equipment toward storage. Her microscope sat unsecured on a cart. A tray of loosened ink fragments trembled beside it whenever the wheels crossed a tile seam. Stop! She planted both hands on the cart. That tray stays level. The older worker showed her a transfer order. Vice Chairman's office. The seal is still curing. Move it, and the evidence shifts. We were told this station is closed. Naomi photographed the order, then pushed the cart back into the restoration laboratory herself. She locked its wheels, covered the fragments, and opened the neglected workstation beside the emergency exit. Dust coated the lamp. The suction table wheezed when she switched it on. Elijah looked up from a stool near the glass partition. His mustard hood hung behind his neck, and a red pencil rested across his sketchbook. School had closed early when the storm flooded the lower streets. Naomi had called 3 sitters. One was stranded across the river. The others never answered. Are we in trouble? He asked. Naomi wiped the lamp with a cloth. The lamp is. Because it's dirty? Because it gave up. She pressed the switch until the bulb steadied. We don't copy lamps. He considered that, then returned to the crane taking shape on his page. Naomi removed her signed employment contract from the cognac satchel and slipped it beneath a clean blotter inside the station drawer. Losing the position meant losing the relocation sponsorship tied to it. Losing that would turn Elijah's new school, their apartment deposit, and 7 years of careful distance into deadlines stamped by strangers. Rin appeared at the open doorway with a silver tablet against her ribs. Her gaze moved from the dusty station to the transfer order. You challenged him in front of the board. He presented my research without me. That was the bait. Naomi drew the altered ledger beneath the imaging arm. Then he should have chosen weaker string. Irene stepped inside and lowered her voice. President Kang is coming. The calibration ruler slipped half an inch under Naomi's hand. When? He landed 40 minutes ago. Naomi realigned the ruler. The chairman visits his own exhibition. That concerns me how. Rin saw the answer in the care Naomi gave a piece of plastic. 7 years earlier, Taehyun's silence had sent Naomi out of Seoul with one suitcase and a warning on her phone. Since then, she had treated his name like damaged paper. Touch only when necessary. Seokjun moved against you before the car reached the gate, Rin said. That concerns me. Elijah closed his sketchbook. Mom, can we go now? Thunder pressed against the glass. The building announcement advised staff to wait until the underground passage reopened. Naomi checked the dark windows, then the crowded lobby where security teams were gathering. We'll use the covered garden, she said. 10 minutes, then the west exit. She secured the ledger, pocketed the drawer key, and left the contract hidden beneath the blotter. Rin watched mother and son disappear down the corridor before sending one message to Taehyun. She is here. She has a child. The covered garden joined the exhibition wing to the old administrative house. Rain struck the glass roof, but the stone path remained dry. Elijah ran ahead to the long wooden bench and climbed onto it, sketchbook balanced on his knees. Naomi stopped when a man entered from the opposite arch. Taehyun had changed only where time demanded payment. His face held harder lines, and his black hair reached his shoulders, restrained behind him. The black crane at his neck disappeared beneath a midnight suit. He saw Naomi, measured the 7 years between them, and crossed the garden without calling her name. Elijah scooted toward the center of the bench. You can sit here. Taehyun looked at the boy, then at Naomi. May I? It's a public bench, she said. He sat beside Elijah, leaving a careful space. Naomi remained standing with one hand around her satchel strap. What are you drawing? Taehyun asked. A crane. The real kind. Elijah showed him the page. Mom fixes old paper. I fix blank paper. An important distinction. Naomi glanced toward the exit. Eli, pack up. I need the wing. He leaned down when the red pencil rolled under the bench. Taehyun reached for it at the same moment. Elijah's hood shifted, and the curl behind his left ear caught against the fabric. A pale crescent crossed by one lighter line appeared on the warm skin beneath. Taehyun's hand stopped around the pencil. Behind his own left ear, hidden by swept-back hair, the same mark had passed through 4 generations of Kang sons. Seokjun had once called it the family's first signature. Naomi pulled Elijah's hood into place. We're leaving. Taehyun rose with the red pencil between his fingers. The distance he had preserved vanished in one step. Naomi. She reached for the pencil. He held it out, but his eyes stayed on Elijah. Tell me the truth, he said. Is he my son? Naomi took the pencil from Taehyun's hand and placed it inside Elijah's sketchbook. Not here. She zipped the backpack, guided her son off the bench, and pointed toward the administrative house. Wait with Ms. Yoon by the doors. Elijah glanced between them. Did I do something? You dropped a pencil. Naomi touched his shoulder. That's all. Rin met him beneath the arch. Only when the doors shut behind them did Naomi turn back. He may be, she said. That answer buys you nothing. Taehyun's fingers closed around the bench rail. Why was I never told? I told you 7 years ago. She opened her phone and found the archived message. You answered. The screen showed her pregnancy disclosure, followed 9 minutes later by a reply from his number. End it. Leave Seoul tonight. If you stay, neither of you will be protected. Taehyun read the timestamp twice. His hand left the rail. I was unconscious that night. Convenient. There are hospital records. He called Dae-sung and gave one instruction. Bring the Gwangjin admission file. Original chain of custody. Naomi blocked his path when he moved toward the doors. You will not approach Elijah again until I decide what happens. Then decide with facts. Facts require rules. She pulled a conservation worksheet from her satchel and wrote across its blank reverse. No private removal from school. No family registry filing. No photographs, announcements, surveillance, or contact without her consent. Any DNA sample would pass through an independent clinic chosen by Dr. Layla Morgan, with duplicate reports sent to both parents. Taehyun read every line. Add that my family receives nothing. Your family includes you. Then write my office. She added it. Violation ends access. He signed beneath her name, without bargaining. For the first time since he entered the garden, Naomi's grip loosened on the pen. 3 hours later, Layla sealed 2 cheek swabs inside a private clinic room while Dae-sung waited beyond the door. Elijah chose a dinosaur bandage, although no needle had touched him. Taehyun accepted the second swab only after Elijah demonstrated how wide to open his mouth. Like this, Elijah said. I understand. You're doing it wrong. Taehyun tried again. Elijah nodded, satisfied, and Layla hid a smile behind the evidence envelope. At the consultation table, Dae-sung delivered the hospital file. Admission time, 8:14 p.m., emergency surgery began at 9:02. Naomi's message had reached Taehyun's phone at 11:47, while a bullet was being removed from his chest. The reply left at 11:56. Who held the phone? Naomi asked. Dae-sung opened the security log. It was collected with his clothes. Vice Chairman Kang signed for the property. Taehyun turned one page, then stopped at the signature. 7 years of absence narrowed into 9 stolen minutes. Naomi photographed the records. A signature proves custody, not authorship. You still protect the standard, he said. The standard protects Eli. The laboratory issued results the next afternoon. Layla placed identical sealed copies on the table and made both adults open theirs at once. Probability of paternity, 99.9998%. Taehyun lowered the page. Naomi watched his thumb press into the paper until Layla slid a folder beneath it. He needs time, Layla said. So do you. Naomi gave Taehyun the first permitted visit. 40 minutes in the clinic playroom, door open, no staff from his organization inside. He arrived with nothing, no gifts, no driver at the window. Elijah set 2 wooden cranes on a low table and assigned him the broken one. Can you fix it? The boy asked. Taehyun examined the detached wing. Your mother repairs things better. She repairs paper. Taehyun examined. Elijah pushed over a roll of tape. You can learn wood. At the second visit, Elijah asked why Taehyun knew the Korean names for every bird in his sketchbook. Naomi paused outside the open door, close enough to interrupt. My mother taught me, Taehyun said. Can she teach me? Taehyun set the sketchbook down. She died before you were born. Elijah drew a small circle beside the crane. That means we remember her. He offered Taehyun the red pencil. Taehyun added 1 line to the bird's wing, then returned it. When the allotted time ended, he stood at Naomi's first signal. Elijah caught his sleeve before he reached the hall. Are you coming back? Taehyun looked to Naomi rather than answering for her. She opened the calendar on her phone and chose Saturday. That permission cost her nothing on paper, yet she checked the clinic door twice after he left. By the third visit, Taehyun knew Elijah separated green candy from every other color and erased each drawing until the eyes looked right. He followed Naomi's limits with an exactness that gave her no argument to use against him. That unsettled her more than defiance would have. On the fourth evening, Hae-rin entered the restoration laboratory carrying a digital copy of a transfer order from the week of the shooting. The payment had moved through a foundation restoration account, disguised as emergency climate control work. The vendor never existed, she said, but the amount matches the weapons broker's ledger. Naomi enlarged the authorization on her imaging screen. The handwritten date appeared blue-black to the naked eye. Under infrared light, the final digit vanished before the others. It was altered, Naomi said. The transfer was approved after the shooting, then backdated. Hae-rin placed the original ledger leaf beside it. Can you identify the ink? Naomi sampled reflected light across both strokes. The altered digit contained a resin, used by one archival pen supplier in Seoul. Hansong Foundation had ordered 12 of those pens for executive signatories. 11 remained in inventory. The missing pen had been issued to Seokjun's office. Taehyun arrived as Naomi aligned the transfer with her old breakup message printout. He saw the hospital timestamp, the forged date, and the same office named in both chains of custody. Someone used your shooting to separate us, Naomi said, then paid the people who caused it. Hae-rin's tablet sounded once. A dormant account linked to the false vendor had just moved money again. She turned the screen toward them. The new payment carried Elijah Bennett's school address. Naomi pulled the network cable from the imaging station while Taehyun called Dae-sung. Hae-rin copied the payment record onto an encrypted drive, then killed the tablet screen. The school address remained in Naomi's sight anyway, each digit fixed behind her eyes. Lock the school down, Taehyun said. No visible men, Naomi cut in. That is still my rule. His gaze held hers. One plainclothes team, you choose the distance. Across the street, nobody touches Eli. Dae-sung confirmed the order. Before he finished, Seokjun entered with 2 board attorneys and summoned trustees. Seokjun placed a termination notice on Naomi's work table. You removed restricted records from authorized custody. Naomi kept her phone recording inside her coat pocket. Name one missing record. The inventory will determine that. Then you have no evidence. One attorney displayed photographs from the clinic beside reordered contract payments, making legitimate work resemble private compensation. Seokjun addressed the trustees instead of her. Ms. Bennett concealed a personal relationship with our chairman while authenticating family documents. You concealed the relationship on these pages, Naomi said. My disclosure form lists it. Seokjun's smile returned. Your access is revoked pending an ethics inquiry. Security officers stepped toward the imaging station. Naomi removed the ledger leaf herself, sealed it between inert sheets, and wrote the time across the custody label. She handed it to Hae-rin rather than the waiting attorney. Every fiber is photographed, Naomi said. Every alteration has a timestamp. Seokjun lifted the contract from the unlocked drawer. He tore out the sponsorship page. Your relocation status depended on this appointment, he said. So did your professional recommendation. The first humiliation had taken her title. This one took the laboratory, the exhibition, and the record that could restore her name. The trustees watched her pack. Their eyes found the floor. Taehyun moved beside Seokjun. The board will hear her findings. Then they will hear why you funded her. Seokjun glanced toward Naomi's pocket. And why her child carries your name in everything but ink. Naomi stopped the recording before her hand betrayed it. Leave my son out of this. You brought him into it. She closed the satchel and walked through the trustees. Reporters already held the foundation's statement. Questions struck from both sides. Were you paid by Chairman Kang? Did you falsify the archive? Is your son the Kang heir? Naomi kept moving until one reporter raised a photograph of Elijah outside the clinic. She seized the page, folded his face inward, and faced every lens. He is 6 years old. Publish his school, and I will name each person who endangered him. The corridor fell quiet long enough for her to reach the service stairs. At the clinic, a television replayed Naomi's confrontation. Its caption named Taehyun as the possible father of an undisclosed heir. The room gave him no private corner in which to understand what adults had hidden. Elijah pointed at the screen. Is that me? Naomi switched it off. I was coming to tell you. Tell me what? Taehyun stopped at the doorway. Naomi crouched in front of her son, but Elijah looked past her toward the man who had learned to repair wooden cranes. Is he my dad? Yes, Naomi said. The answer made Elijah slide off the chair. Everybody knew except me. We learned recently. He came 4 times. Elijah pulled on his backpack. You counted the minutes. I was trying to keep you safe. From him? Naomi reached for his hand. He tucked it against his chest and ran into the hall. Layla followed first. Taehyun took the rear stairwell while Naomi crossed the crowded lobby, calling Elijah's name. They found him in the covered garden, curled at one end of the wooden bench. The sketchbook lay open beside him. He had erased the crane until the paper had thinned into a hole. Why didn't you come? Elijah asked Taehyun. Taehyun lowered himself several feet away. I never knew you existed. Mom knew. She knew dangerous people surrounded me. She protected you when I could not. Elijah looked at Naomi. Are you going to let him take me? Taehyun answered before she could. Nobody will take you from your mother, not even me. Elijah picked up the damaged page. He let Naomi hold him, but his arms stayed at his sides. Her son had returned to her body without returning to her trust. The next morning, Naomi signed him into school, verified every approved adult, and removed the foundation from his emergency contacts. Daesung's team watched from across the street. At 11:18, Naomi received a call from the foundation's internal counsel. Water had breached the temporary archive room. Her sealed evidence was supposedly inside, and no conservator on staff could move it safely. Send me a live video, she said. The network is down. Put Haerin on. Miss Yoon is with the board. Naomi called Haerin separately. The call went to voicemail. She called Daesung. His team still saw Elijah's classroom windows, but a delivery truck had blocked the school gate for 4 minutes. Naomi drove to the foundation and found the archive room dry. Her evidence box was gone. So was the attorney who had called. Her phone rang again. The school secretary spoke too quickly. Mrs. Bennett, a foundation driver collected Elijah during the gas alarm. There is no approved foundation driver. He had your authorization code. Naomi opened the emergency contact file on her phone. The code had been changed that morning through her suspended foundation credentials. She ran back toward the car while Taehyun called every exit team. Daesung reached the curb first. The sedan's front tires had been cut. Its dashboard camera showed Elijah climbing into a gray van after a man displayed Naomi's forged signature. Track the plate, Taehyun ordered. Stolen, Daesung said. Traffic cameras lost it near the river. Naomi enlarged the final frame. Elijah sat behind tinted glass, both hands pressed around his sketchbook. A message appeared from his school tablet, carrying 6 words and an unfamiliar industrial address. Mom, they said you sent them. Then the tablet's location signal vanished. Naomi enlarged the industrial address until its letters broke into pixels. The final 4 characters were not part of any Seoul street system. They matched the accession codes she had cleaned from the Kang freight ledgers: building, gate, loading bay, each written backward to defeat ordinary searches. It's a depot code, she said. Guangjin, East Warehouse. Tae-hyun reached for the car door. Naomi caught his wrist. If you arrive angry, they move him. Then tell me the route. I'm coming. Naomi. You promised nobody would decide for us. She released him. That includes you. Hae-rin's call reached them from a borrowed phone. Min-woo had pulled her out of the board meeting through a service corridor, and he carried the authorization ledger Seokjun believed destroyed. Dae-sung redirected two unmarked teams toward Gwangjin, while Naomi reconstructed the depot plan from photographs of the restored archive. A second car stopped beside them. Han Sun-ja climbed out holding the cedar box she had guarded since Naomi's first departure. A man searched my rooms for this today, she said. So today, it belongs to you. Inside lay a sealed letter in Taehyun's handwriting. Naomi opened it along a weakened fold and found the words he had written before the shooting. Meet me at the garden. I chose you. Beneath the page, pressure marks crossed the box lining. She angled her phone light and read the reversed figures aloud. East Warehouse, Gate 3. Taehyun stared at the letter once, then handed it back. Keep it safe. Min-woo arrived with Hae-rin and placed a worn envelope across the hood. Bank transfers linked Seokjun's private account to the old gunman, the false security company, and the driver carrying Elijah. A signed succession memorandum sat behind them. It removed Taehyun after his death and elevated Min-woo, but any acknowledged son of Taehyun would void it. Min-woo pressed his thumb against his father's signature. He ordered the shooting. When you lived, he erased Naomi. When Elijah appeared, he chose the same solution. Hae-rin copied everything to prosecutors and 3 independent directors. Delivery confirmed. The objects on the hood finished what 7 years of accusations could not. A letter proved Taehyun had chosen Naomi. The transfers proved Seokjun had chosen bloodshed. Elijah had become dangerous to him before the boy understood the word heir. Dae-sung spread the depot plan over the evidence. Main convoy leaves in 18 minutes. Naomi pointed to a narrow passage beneath the restoration storage mark. This was a humidity tunnel. It reaches the loading office. Too tight for a team, Dae-sung said. It is wide enough for me. Taehyun folded the plan. We go together until it divides. At the depot, Dae-sung blocked the river exit with an empty freight truck. Hae-rin triggered the fire shutters from the abandoned control room, separating Seokjun's men from their vans without firing a shot. Taehyun drew the guards toward Gate 3, while Naomi crawled through the service passage, following the scrape of a chair above her. She pushed through a loose floor panel inside the loading office. Elijah sat with his backpack hugged to his chest. A driver stood beside the only door, listening to shouted orders through an earpiece. Elijah saw her first. He kept his face still and dropped his red pencil. The driver bent to retrieve it. Naomi swung the panel upward into his arm, pulled Elijah down, and locked the hatch between them. The man struck the wood once. Dae-sung's team reached the office from the corridor before he struck again. In the tunnel, Elijah clung to Naomi's coat. I knew you didn't send them. I came anyway. Is Taehyun here? Yes, he came too. Beyond Gate 3, Seokjun stood between Taehyun and the waiting van. Min-woo approached from the side with his envelope visible. His father's paternal smile collapsed. You would destroy everything this family built for a woman and a child? Seokjun asked. Taehyun stepped away from the van, leaving the police a clear path. No, I'm destroying what you built using my family's name. Min-woo gave the original ledger to the lead investigator. My testimony is recorded. So are his orders from this morning. Seokjun turned toward his son. You inherit nothing. That was the first thing you ever gave me freely. Officers closed around Seokjun. Fraud, conspiracy, kidnapping, and the old assassination order were read into the record as his signet ring disappeared inside an evidence bag. Taehyun found Naomi at the tunnel entrance with Elijah in her arms. He stopped several feet away and waited. Elijah reached toward him. Taehyun crossed the distance only then, dropping to his knees as the boy wrapped one arm around each parent. The next morning, Taehyun placed the succession memorandum before the Kang board and tore his signature line from it. He transferred the foundation to an independent council, surrendered the criminal ledgers to prosecutors, and barred every family office from registering Elijah as an heir. "My son inherits no obligation," he told the directors. "His life belongs to him." Naomi's evidence restored her professional record before the same trustees who had watched it collapse. She accepted leadership of a new international conservation center, but only after its charter removed Kang control. Taehyun signed without requesting a seat. Outside the boardroom, he returned the garden letter to her. "I spent my life believing love meant keeping someone close." Naomi traced the old fold. "And now? Now I leave room for them to choose." The choice formed through ordinary days. Taehyun arrived at school gates on time, learned Elijah's appointments, and repaired the crane without hiding the crack. Naomi invited him to dinner, then to breakfast, one permission at a time. 6 months after the depot, Naomi and Elijah sat on the covered garden bench while the first drops struck the glass roof. Taehyun stopped beneath the arch. "May I sit with you?" he asked. Elijah looked at Naomi, then moved his backpack. "Yes, but this time you have to stay." Taehyun sat. His hand rested on the bench between them, open and still. Naomi placed her fingers over his and closed the space herself. This time, he stayed. If this story moved you, stop for a moment and reflect. Have you protected a child's freedom from powerful relatives? Could an undelivered letter change whom you trusted? Tell us your experiences and feelings in the comments. We read them all. And if you believe in stories about motherhood, truth, and chosen family, leave a like, be sure to subscribe to the channel, and click join to become a part of our community and help the channel.